Hi everybody again today. I'm here with you with a tag. This was created by One Book One Review, but I heard about it from Steve Donoghue's video on it. So I will link both of those below. But this is the big books tag, and I just thought this would be kind of fun. I have a few big books. The original tag says that you are supposed to show 5 of the largest books in your collection, and then 2 big books that you haven't gotten to yet, that you haven't gotten to yet. I cheated, and I brought 6, and 2 more just for a little fun. Okay, so I'm going to start with this one here. My complete Tales and Poems, I have to be careful with it, of Edgar Allan Poe. I have to be careful with it because I read this twice, and it did not, it's not standing up very well. It's falling apart a little bit already right here. These are really nice leather-bound editions from Barnes & Noble, but they don't hold up very well. So, well, I'm dealing with that with this. But I love this collection. I love it. And as I said, I've read it twice and have loved it twice. Edgar Allan Poe used to be my favorite writer, as I said in a previous video. And pretty much throughout my entire adolescence, this was the guy I read every day. So, yeah, that's this one here. That clocks in at 1,020 pages. So, not bad. Next. Well, what literature lovers collection would be complete without the complete works of William Shakespeare? Must have. Absolutely a must have. This was a gift. It's an old thing. I have to be careful with this one too, but I love it. I love this. My marker here is actually on. I'm rereading Hamlet. Yes, this is fantastic. This clocks in at, oh my, 1,000. Nope, let's exclude the glossary. The Two Noble Kinsmen is the final play in this collection, and that closes the book at 1,256 pages. So, not bad at all, not bad at all. A must-have monster. Next, we have The Lord of the Rings. Oh, you can see that. There we are. The Lord of the Rings. This is a wonderful, it has a faux suede cover, and it contains the amazing appendices on all of the chronology, the languages, everything in this just wonderfully entertaining book, which is kind of it's kind of fun because this is all meant to be. It's perfect that this is all the 3 Lord of the Rings installments are collected in a single volume here because they were meant anyway to be one book, as I'm sure all Tolkien fans out there know. This is at, let's see, what does this close at? We're going to include the appendices because it's so important to read them. 1,138 pages. So not too bad at all, not too bad. And I have only read about, let's see, I've read some parts in each installment separately on my old Kindle. I had one of those ancient Kindles. But I have not just sat and read them all together, one by one. I started it a little while ago. See, there's my bookmark there. And I started it a while ago. But yeah, I have yet to just read it all the way through. But since I've already read most of each installment separately, I just figured I'd include that here. My 2 TBR giant books are much newer to my collection. So, Okay, there's that one. Next one, you guys have already seen this one. This is my essays, American and English Writers by Henry James. This one comes in at... it looks smaller than the other ones. Yes, it does. But this is on it's set on some wonderful acid-free paper. And I mean, it's thin, almost tissue-like paper. It's very, very thin. So we've got, including the chronology and the note on the texts, this comes in at 1,443 pages. So that is a very thick book. I've read, well, I've kind of hopped around in the book, but in all, I've probably read about half of it in total. So, yes, definitely, as I've already told you guys, a must-have. This is a must-have. I love big books. I love them. I'm not at all ever intimidated by the size of a book. If I open it and immediately am intrigued by the contents, I want it. And this book was actually my very first, I don't think I mentioned this, but this book was my very first Henry James book. Yep, it's the first one that I actually put on a shelf. So, that's perfect. Now, next one. I actually picked this up because Steve Donoghue recommended it. And in case none of you know, the reason I watch, which I don't think I've mentioned it, the reason I watch Steve Donoghue so much, the reason I keep up with his channel, is because he has read so many books. He has read thousands upon thousands upon thousands of books. And so if I'm looking for something, looking for just something to sink my teeth into, something I've never heard of, I take a look. I keep up with his channel, so I keep taking a look and seeing just what he has to praise or to heavily criticize, and I go sort of based on that. I've gotten a couple of books that he's recommended the most, and this is one of them. V.S. Pritchett's Complete Collected Essays. This is pretty much a big book in almost every way. V.S. Pritchett was quite a major book reviewer in his time, and he wrote a bunch of different little things based on word count and whatnot. He contributed to a bunch of magazines, and Lewis Carroll is in here, Joseph Conrad, the two Carlyles. He writes about the letters of Carlyle's wife, and of course the books of Thomas Carlyle himself. Just all kinds of little goodies. That's what this thing is. It's just a little collection of basically nonfiction literary treats. I love it. And this is comes in at 1,307 pages. 1,307. If you can pick this up, I would recommend it. This is it's neat to have. Okay. Oh. All right. Finally, my sixth selection. I couldn't not put this on here. This is the largest book I have. And in fact, it is one of the longest books ever written. It is Marcel Proust's In Search of Lost Time. Look at this thing. I know. 6 installments, right? But no, much like The Lord of the Rings, or exactly like The Lord of the Rings, all of these installments are actually one book. This is all one novel. And yes, this is a novel. A gargantuan, I would say it's kind of it's high comedy, high satire on the aristocracy in France. That's what he wrote this about. My marker here, you can see, is on the third installment. That's what I'm on there. The Clermont's Way. It's very, yeah, that's what I'm on right now. And it's very, very, yeah, the sentences are long. Yes, there's, a lot of, one, I forget exactly which reviewer it was, it became famous for saying that Proust was more a philosopher than a novelist. And so there is a lot of digression, there was a lot of thought put into it. He has a lot of theories on human behavior, on human psychology, on society at large. He puts that in here, he does. But the way he weaves all of that into the story is actually very... It's very engrossing, actually. You can really get lost in Proust. You really can. Don't let him intimidate you. This is very... It's very good. I enjoy this very much. This is probably the best English translation that you can possibly get. This is the... It was originally translated by C.K. Scott Moncrief and Terence Kilmartin. It was revised then by D.J. Enright. And yeah, this is definitely the one to have. It's fantastic if you can't read the original French. Okay, that ends it for my biggest books by page count. But just for the fun of it, I've thrown in 2 other monsters of a different sort. You've seen this on the channel before. This is my big book containing Henry James's last 3 novels. Just for the sheer, this is almost twice the size of my face. So that's this one, which you've already seen. No need to explain that one. And then this one here, Leonardo's notebooks. Leonardo da Vinci, of course. So the hands of the Mona Lisa, of course. With some sketches on the back. Self-portrait, the bunch of one of his, I think. No, that's not one of his grotesques, but no, just a bunch of sketches and whatnot on the back. This is awesome and awesome. You have to pick up Leonardo's notebooks, whatever edition. I got the big giant thing. This is just so cool because you can go through and see in enormous scale. The beginnings of... Here's the beginnings of the Last Supper. I'm sorry, that's not even quite the beginnings. This is right here. Very crude sort of germ, as it were. And then, and then his studies of human anatomy, skeleton. This is wonderful to have. Having Leonardo's notebooks is... I've read this book. There's some of the coding coming off, all of that. I've read this book about 3 times all the way through. I love this. I love it. Getting into one of the greatest minds in the history of the world is just so fascinating. And the translation is incredible. The translation of all of his notes and observations is incredible. So you get a real feel of the language he used and his own aesthetic sense. He was just very good. Anyway, I won't stay on that too long. Instead, now, finally, for the 2 big books I have yet to really read, I should say. There's one here that I haven't even touched yet, and it's killing me. But the other one, I've only read a small number of pages in. 76 pages, to be exact. This is Thomas Carlyle's The French Revolution. This was my first Carlyle book. He is certainly... He's setting up to be one of my top favorite writers ever. I love Thomas Carlyle. I love the intellectual fire, the absolute critical. He was very critical of everything, which is very forward-looking, of course. We know that now, in the postmodernist world, everyone's critical, but there's something more interesting about the way Carlyle just claws at society and the political realm, the just everything. I mean, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. Seneca said that the single most sinful, most dangerous emotion to be had by a man is anger. But let me tell you, in literature, it's one of the best. And nobody is angrier in Victorian, or well, early 19th century English prose, and Victorian prose later, than Thomas Carlyle. Wow, this is great. You should pick this up. And I love this edition, the Oxford University Press. This is the one I think you should have if you want to get into this big old thing. It's told in the style of an epic, kind of like, Milton, or has a little bit of Dante-esque elements thrown in, but it's in prose. But it's a very poetic prose and whatnot. Very well researched. It's about the early developments of the French Revolution, everything that led up to it primarily, and then he finally gets into it near the end. He gets into the actual revolution. And it has made a lot of scholars very angry because he is so well researched. He gets so much, as far as the research goes, he gets so much correct. But then for me, he gets everything right because he has an extremely rapturous, complex, and indeed high style. It's what would basically be called high aesthetic style. And well, that makes a lot of critics angry. They wish that he could have been a little bit clearer, a little bit less artsy with the prose, so that they could more easily reference him, should we say. So that is that one. And then finally, book that I haven't gotten to, it is killing me. Oh, it is killing me so much that it's Victober, and I have dedicated myself entirely to Victorian reads for the month. And I am also preparing right now for NaNoWriMo. A little bit more on that tomorrow. I'll create a video all for AuthorTube and all of that. I picked this up a few days ago when I picked up the Elizabeth Barrett Browning poetry collection here. When I picked this up, I saw this book right across the aisle. I almost squealed and jumped up and down seeing it. I couldn't. Okay, here it is. The Essential Writings of Ralph Waldo Emerson. Look at this. Isn't that wonderful? This is the Modern Library Classics edition. I love how it feels. Oh, the smell. I love this. I love books so much. I love books. Why? I don't mind internet reading at all. I do quite a bit of internet reading every day, actually. Wherever I can get the language I love, wherever I can learn anything I need to learn, or whatever it is. I don't mind reading on the internet at all. But all of my favorite writers, all of the best things that have ever been written, the things I really want in my collection, things I've heard of, things I've already read, things I want to read, I love to get them in physical book form. I love that. I just do. It's I'm not necessarily a sentimental person when it comes to objects, but my books are my babies, so I love having them. This is the newest baby, my newest adopted baby. This is it. But of course, he was American. his writings didn't make it as well in Britain as other American writers' works did in his time. So I couldn't quite say he was a great Victorian era author, even though he was the finest American writer of his time. He was, and he's one of the greatest writers of all time. This includes his a ton of his poetry, his essays. Oh my God, I've read only a few of them, and I'm completely in love. And it also includes some of his addresses, the speeches that he wrote. He traveled around and gave speeches and whatnot everywhere, and they're also amazing. They're completely fascinating. And as an extra treat, this includes commentary by Robert Frost, with whom I don't have a very loving relationship, Matthew Arnold, Oliver Wendell Holmes, not too bad, Henry David Thoreau, whom I love, and then Henry James. So, this is such a treat. It is killing me. I look at it every day, and I just, I can't wait to get to this. It'll be a little, I don't mind delayed gratification, though. It tortures me, but I will get to this. So yes, that is my tag video for today. I was looking around at a list of tags and thought this would be the perfect one for today. And I love this tag because I'm always interested in seeing what kinds of books everybody else has that are enormous. The collections they have, the novels, the biographies, whatever they may be. I'm always interested. I'm always looking for something, especially something brand new, maybe 21st century, to sink my teeth into. Very difficult for me to find, but if you have any recommendations, put them in your comments below. So yes, and please tell me, what are the biggest books you have? And if there are, if any of you have made some videos on the subject already, I will be sure to hunt them down and give them a view. Thank you guys again for everything, and I will see you all again tomorrow.